Hey everybody, we got a special announcement. This is not a normal episode of
Dude.
Check This Out. This is some news coming out of AJ's side of the world. Back in 1999, he released his debut album called Milky Pan Fish with the band Swag, and they are re-releasing it.
And the band Swag that I was in, we used to use speakers in our rehearsal space that were from the Grandy Ballroom.
Really?
Just massive things that took a beating. It was kind of cool.
Well,
So
Swag, your band, your drummer was related to a member from MC5, if I'm not
yes,
correct.
he's the son of the singer from the MC5. And he's our drummer in Swag. And speaking of which, we mentioned this before, we are doing a re-release of the 1999 CD Milky Pan Fish on Friday the 13th in a week.
That's cool. That's congratulations on that. You know, I remember when the first time I saw or first time I heard it, and I got a copy of the CD back then, and I looked at the cover, and it's got a fish in a pan covered in milk. Can you elaborate on that? Where did that come from?
Sure. So we're trying to come up. So John, Rob, and I got together, and we started writing songs. And we actually had Mike Smith was this guy from another band that brought all of us together, and then Mike kind of bailed, and it was just the three of us for a while. And we did manage to pick up another guitarist at one point for a very brief stint. But we've written some material, and we're like, all right, it's getting to that point where we're probably gonna have to go out and play. What are we gonna call ourselves? And we had a whole list of things, and then we'd settled on Swag for the band because at the time it was almost like a bare naked ladies free beer kind of thing, where if you put your name up on the marquee, people would come to that just because of the name. So we thought Swag. Everyone's giving out Swag. You heard 89X talking about Swag, so we called ourselves Swag. And by the way, there's like 900 Swags on the Apple Music Store. But then we were like, okay, one of the other ones in the list as we're negotiating what we're going to call ourselves, one of the other names we would have called ourselves was Milky Pan Fish. It was one of the members of the band, John Jones, the bass player, who's like, he brought this up. I'm like, that's a crazy name, but it's kind of cool because sometimes naming yourself something crazy gets your attention. And we agreed that we said, all right, we're going to call ourselves Swag, and the first album we write, we will call the album Milky Pan Fish. And then we wrote Milky Pan Fish, and we couldn't think of anything better than than what you see on the album cover, which is just the head of a fish in a pan full of milk.
I remember that.
Well, I remember calling I think my mom did it. They had a really good camera. Somebody had a good camera at the time. And I think it was my mom or one of my siblings. And we said, this is the name of the album, and I need help. We're trying to come up with the cover art. And my mom went out and bought a whole fish. And they took a whole bunch of different pictures with the milk in the pan and this cast iron skillet. And the last one that they did was the one that stuck, which is just the head of the fish sticking up out of the milk. We're like, there's our album cover, right? There was other things we did inside. This is where CDs, what we're missing from CDs and albums today is there's the cover art, which they get artists to spend a lot of time doing. And then there's the stuff on the inside, like the liner notes, the credits, some additional graphics or art, right? And a lot of bands have artists. They're not only musicians, but they draw and they create other things. So they put that in there as well. We had a picture of Uncle Sam because a lot of our flyers were like the old, we want you to come to our show and not join the army. We want you to come to our show. So that was in there. We did put a bunch of some of our old marketing material in the album there too. But yeah, it's exciting. We've been talking about this for a couple months now. The guys, we finally, after a very, very long time, there we go. You got it upside down. But if you are in a car and it's upside down, please turn it over. But yeah, we had stickers, ring tees. We had all sorts of stuff, all sorts of merchandise to sell and give away. And yeah,
So
that's
so
the only stuff left.
yeah, yeah, it might be. So if I wanted to get a copy of Milky Pan Fish, how would I get it?
So if you want an actual physical copy of Milky Pan Fish, reach out to me on send an email to dudeoperator@gmail.com. And we'll put that email into to the notes today. I'll get the email, Dave and I'll get the email with an address, and we'll have to figure out a way to get you an actual disc, right? But you can starting on the 13th at 1 p.m. I'm sorry, 1:13 p.m. So for the 24-hour types, it's 13:13. It'll be available on basically all the streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music. I think it's on YouTube Music as well. We put it on, I think, at least 20 different streaming services. So yeah, it'll be available in your local time zone starting at 1:13 p.m. On Friday the 13th.
Cool, I can't wait. 'Cause I do have a couple of the physical discs, but sometimes when you rip a CD to put on the computer, if it's not it doesn't pull all the information. So I went to open up my folder to talk about some of the songs, and it's song 1, song 2, song 3. But just from the top of my head, the Tick, there's a song, the Tick, that's you wrote about the cartoon character.
Cartoon character, yeah.
Yeah, that's I like that one. What what gave you that idea? Were you just like watching TV one day, or how'd you come up with that?
I had the lyrics for it before I even had the music, so it came together as two different things. Sometimes my creative process, I've got an idea I want to put out there, and it's either just a statement of how I'm feeling about something or an inspiration, and then the music may come later. I mean, that's a cool riff, we should put some words to it. And I go, well, let me go look at my list of, my catalog of things I can sing about or talk about. And that one was literally just as the song goes. I wasn't married at the time, but I was basically up late watching, I think it was on Comedy Central was when the cartoon was on.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, the Tick, I like that. And the guys knew the cartoon too. And we actually, in the song, during the solo, we actually have a soundbite of the cartoon character. I guess his battle cry was spoon. He would just say spoon. So we put that in the solo part of the song.
Was that an actual clip from the show, or did somebody do that with their own voice?
I think we found a wave or an MP3 on the internet with that in there.
So,
and then we just had Feeney put it into the mix when we were tracking it.
So this CD really goes on a journey of styles and emotions. You have a fun song like The Tick. You have a deep song that I really liked called Puppet, or I'm Not Your Puppet. I forget the name. Puppet. And that one, was that kind of a biography or was it autobiography? Was that about you being in the military, or is that just in general of how a soldier would be treated?
Yeah, there were 3 different pieces to that. One was a failed relationship. Another one was just being always told what to do and ignore what your parents are doing. You have to do what they tell you. And then the last part of the story was being in the military and being told what to do. And, and that was kind of 3 different aspects of it. And it wasn't an autobiographical song at all. It was just an idea about people standing up and saying, I'm not gonna be your puppet anymore. You're not gonna tell me what to do.
And then, not to go into every song, but then the song, the album just kind of just goes nuts with a song like The Zoo.
Go away.
Yeah.
that one's just, I mean, we've had that come into one of our earlier shows, a little clip of it, and I'll probably throw some clips in, in the edit for this. But the zoo, want to talk about that one a little bit?
Yeah. It, that one was weird how it came about. Like I'm just in the basement one night, um, just by myself with the guitar playing, and the opening riff just came to me. And it was one of those things where I know if I don't keep working on it, I'm going to forget it. And I wasn't in a position where I could start recording things. And I learned early on, if you don't track it the next day, you won't remember exactly how it came out. So I spent a long time writing it down, trying to figure it all out, and making sure that the entire piece of music was what I wanted to present to the band at the next practice. And I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait. I'm like, this is so different. This is totally different. It's like a complete departure from anything we've ever done. Now it does kind of have a little bit of like a Rage Against the Machine type influence in there.
Hmm.
But it was just like, this is going to be our song. This is going to be the one that I like the most out of the on the album. And the lyrics were mostly anti-establishment type stuff,
Right.
but it was an angst filled song.
Yeah, there's a lot of good guitar riffs that spread throughout this album. Noodle and E, another good one. One of the songs I'm more partial to because we used, I think it originated the first incarnation from when we played together, the song called Insomnia.
Yes.
Um, that one, when we used to play it, it was a bit different than how it ended up on your CD. And it was a 100% your idea. You wrote it.
Oh, we talked about it too. Okay, we're thinking about putting this on the
Yeah,
album.
and it turned out great. And
seconds tick away.
so that I'm a little more partial to that one, maybe having a little bit of input in that process. But yeah, I can't wait for to re-dive into this album. So
That CD was recorded um, by Dave Allison, who at the time was running a recording studio called Claire House. And we turned my house in Royal Oak literally into the studio. The basement was the drum room and the amp room. And we had a snake running the entire house into the basement because we had a control room way in the back. We spent, I think, a couple weeks tracking it there. Dave even he's got some guitar on, I
that
think it's on Wishing Well.
that intro riff, the word he ran it straight, guitar straight into the board.
Noodle and E. It was Noodle and E.
Is it? I think I was there when he tracked that.
He gave the song the name. We didn't even have a name for it.
Yeah.
And he goes, that one where you're noodling around in E? And I'm like, that's the name of the song, Noodle and E. That's why that song is named that, by the way. It's
Interesting. I didn't know that.
But yeah, so we tracked it there, and then we took it over to Tempermill and had Dave Feeney just do an amazing job mixing it, getting it all perfect, editing and all kind of stuff. And then Tony Hamera did the mastering on it. So yeah, it was a fun process just to take it all the way from ideas on notepads and ringing ears at the end of sessions with the guys to a CD. It was really fun.
Now, was that primarily recorded with Stratocaster?
Yes, Stratocaster, but a mix of different amps. There was a Blues DeVille in there and some stuff, and I had a Laney. We were using Laney back then too, because
I remember
that. Before I gave up on Laney's, I think it was right after the CD release party. I gave up on before that, but I gave up on Laney's because they just kept crapping out. And the rat is in there too. The
Proco.
original Proco worth $1,000 today, but I don't have it anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Rat. And I listen to that now, and because I'm going through this like 8 gazillion guitar pedal comparison thing that I'm working through. I'm really tuned into like the different types of distortion. There was a lot of fuzz in that, almost borderline big muff pedal type fuzz, right? It was really fuzzy on some of the stuff, but the engineers really made it sound great.
Cool. Well, Milky Pan Fish, 1313. Was it Friday the 13th?
Friday the 13th
At 1:13 p.m.
We decided we would do it on Friday the 13th because we weren't lucky enough to get recognized and become big and famous and all that stuff. So we figured we're just going to punch luck in the face by releasing it on Friday the 13th. If you've been wanting to replace that scratchy CD that's floating around in your glove box of your 30-year-old car, or the one you got won't get ripped properly into iTunes because, as Dave said, it shows up as song 1 through 15. Go ahead, and most people these days have access to streaming media services as part of a subscription, and we're out there. You can find us. It probably will be easier for you to find Milky Pan Fish than it will be to find just swag, because I mentioned before there's like a ton of swag. So, Dave, thanks for kind of interviewing me on this and bringing awareness to our listeners of this release. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. See ya.
I'll be your best friend. I'll be you to the end. And I'll make time for sure. It's just something people say to get in.